Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT, la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again is my co-host and Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man? How are you doing, bro?
All right, man. Wednesday, waiting for the leaguescup debut of Tigres against Portland. We shall see if they're going to treat it as a legit tournament or if it's going to be preseason for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of games on today, actually. Manchester
Mhm.
United's playing Real Madrid in Houston, Arsenal's playing Barcelona, and then Leagues Cup. A lot of, preseason games, and we'll see how, I guess, the big dogs of Mexican football treat this tournament now that they're playing, because it's going to be, we're yet to see Rayados, we're yet to see America, Chivas, Tigres. So we'll see. We'll see how they treat it. But this
Mhm.
episode, we're going to be talking about, the summer transfer window so far for USMNT and El Tri. What has transpired, who has moved, what rumors are still circulating, who do we think will move before the end of the transfer window, which ends around the end of August or beginning of September, depending on what league we're talking about. Let's get into it, man. Starting off with USMNT. So far for the USMNT, there's been around 4 big moves so far. We're recording this on July 26th, so take that with a grain of salt. You're watching this video afterwards. This might not be that current, but as of July 26th, 2023, we've seen 4 big moves, the biggest of which we made a whole video about it. We'll link it
Mhm.
at the end of this video if you want to go check that out. We went into detail about this one. Pulisic to AC Milan. He went for a 19 million pound transfer from Chelsea. Joined Chelsea obviously in 2019. And, don't really want to go too deep into this one just because we made a whole 20-minute episode about that. But, between you and I, we kind of were in agreement that this is a great opportunity for him to kind of reignite his
Yeah.
club career, at a place where he feels valued. We know how important that is for him. And, a place where he won't have to, there's not that stiff competition that he had at Chelsea where there were like 4 players for his left wing position. Here, he'll be one of the first names on the starting 11, at least in the beginning. If he messes up and drops his level, then, that could change, right? But he'll definitely be an integral part of that team going forward and will be, part of a team that's challenging for Serie A, Coppa Italia, and is playing Champions League football. So a pretty good move for him. We're excited to see how that turns out for him. Why don't you give our listeners a kind of a rundown of where Ricardo Pepi landed, bro?
Well, Ricardo Pepi, as we know, he was playing at Groningen. They got relegated, but our boy made a big move from Groningen to PSV, one of the contenders of Eredivisie. It's been a couple of years since PSV has been, a top of the league at in the Netherlands, and they're looking to revamp their whole squad. So Ricardo Pepi looks like he's going to be the go-to striker for them for this next season. He made a move from Augsburg for about 9 million euros, which is great news for him. And yeah, I think right now he's I foresee him maybe not being the starting striker because he has competition with Luke De Jong, but Luke De Jong is getting old. He's 32 years old. While Luke De Jong may be a living legend, I think Ricardo Pepi will definitely have a lot of opportunities for game time, and it's up to him to capitalize on those and make the manager and as well as the fans realize that it's time for Pepi to take that number one striker position.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he'll have a lot of play time, especially if they qualify for Champions League. They're in that Champions League
Mhm.
playoff. So, between that and the league and having a 32-year-old Luke de Jong as your main competitor, I think he'll see plenty of play time. So, great move for him, for a club, like you said, that's trying to
Yeah.
get back to the top, one of the big 3 clubs in that league, along with Ajax and Feyenoord, right? So, it'll be interesting to see him, especially him playing against Mexico's forward Santi Jimenez in Feyenoord. So two strikers there from CONCACAF going at it, two of the biggest teams in Eredivisie. So one of the other moves we saw here was well, I think probably the first move that happened for the USMNT this summer was Tim Weah to Juventus. Tim Weah joined Juve from Lille in the French league, where he was used, everywhere as a right back, winger, striker, a very adaptable player that was able to be utilized anywhere for Lille. Which is why Allegri signed him. He could adapt
Mhm.
anywhere. He was signed for around 13.5 million USD. 11.3 million in transfer, and then 2.3 million in bonuses. And he joins Weston McKennie, at least for now, as another fellow American there at Juventus. It's Juve is obviously one of Europe's biggest clubs. They had a turmoil last season where they were deducted points, and then that whole scandal. So definitely will be looking to turn themselves around. Juan Cuadrado has left Juventus, so this is going to be his opportunity, like golden opportunity, starting the season to kind of replace him as the main winger there on the right wing. So good move for him, moving from Lille to Juventus. Let's just see that hopefully it's not too big of a team for him, right? I mean, we've seen that with the likes of Pulisic and Chelsea, where he couldn't quite adapt himself and become a regular starter. Hopefully, that isn't the case
Yeah,
for Tim Weah, because for the USMNT, he's been great, and we'd like to see him continue developing there.
agreed.
The last one here that before we get into the biggest questions of the summer that have yet to been answered, Brendan Aronson moved to Union Berlin. He joins Union Berlin from Leeds, who got relegated. So it's funny because he'll be going from a relegated team to one that's playing Champions League football. This is, however, a loan, season-long loan, no option to buy there at the end. And this is a league that we saw him be very successful with Salzburg in the Austrian league. This is a league
Hmm.
that's plays similar to Austrian football. It's different from EPL, so will be interesting to see how he adapts. Union Berlin isn't a team that likes to press a lot, so we know that Aronson is used for pressing. He's a really quick guy, so it'll be interesting to
Hmm.
see how he fits into this squad. But definitely anytime you're able to move from the Champions League or a second division team to playing Champions League football, that's a plus. Um, so here are the biggest questions, man. Starting off with Serginho Dest, what can you tell us about the Barcelona right back?
Well, I mean, it looks like Barcelona wants to keep him at least for the first half of the semester. Those are the things that I've been reading. Uh, is that there's no plans for him to leave Barcelona? They're probably going to give him a second chance. I know that this preseason is essentially that uh, I guess training ground for him, or I guess proving ground for him to ensure that he is capable of withstand a season long with Barcelona. There's also, that he's definitely competing with Julian Araujo on that specific position. But lucky for him, Julian Araujo, it looks like he's gonna get loaned out. He's not gonna remain with Barcelona after the preseason is over here in the United States. You're gonna probably keep him here for all the Mexican fans. But after that, most likely Julian Araujo will be moving on to be a loanee of Barcelona. Uh, it's kind of difficult for me if Xavi is actually planning on using Serginho Dest for for a majority of the matches. Then I'll say yes, stay at Barcelona, because La Liga is a competitive league, and if you have a chance to prove yourself and hone in those skills, especially defensively speaking, by all means go ahead and do it. But we also know that Serginho Dest is probably one of those European Legion players that suffer the most with because of low play time. Right, he wasn't playing with Barcelona, then he moved to AC Milan, and he wasn't necessarily, being a not even called up for the bench. He wasn't, put in the reserves most of the time, not even coming out to the bench. So, is it good that he's staying in Barcelona? Only yes, if he's guaranteed some play time. If it's not, if he cannot secure any game time throughout the season, and he's gonna be most likely be a bench player, then I will definitely look for a transfer either back to Ajax where he shined, uh, or find some, go somewhere else where you might not join a top notch team, but you can definitely improve on those areas that you have opportunity for growth. um Serie A might be a good fit for him.
Yeah, Serie A or a mid-table EPL team. I could see him doing well,
Hmm.
like at a Fulham or something.
Yeah.
Just send everybody to Fulham, all the Americans to Fulham, Fulham America.
I know, they play there.
Yeah, there've been a lot of Americans there in the past, for sure.
Mhm.
So our next topic here is Weston McKennie. Originally it was said in the beginning of the season, or sorry, in the beginning of the preseason, at the end of the last season, that Allegri had come out and said that Allegri and the board that Juventus or Weston McKennie was not part of the plan going forward. That they're definitely going to move him away, move him out. But no, apparently Allegri came out and said that he is in his plans. If he works for it, he works hard. There's a way to incorporate him. They see him being there. I think this might just be for marketing purposes, as US currently in the USA on a preseason summer tour.
Yeah.
And obviously coming with Weston McKennie and with Timmy Weah to the United States, there's going to be ticket sales, right? I mean, Weston McKennie is one of the fan favorites of the USMNT. So this
Hmm.
might just be a ploy to, sell tickets while they're here. Um, we saw he was loaned out last season, all half last season to Leeds. So apparently there wasn't something. It wasn't that great of a spot for him, right? I mean, he was loaned out. I mean, you could tell that Allegri wasn't using him. So we'll see what happens this summer for him. But well, similar I said, this if he's not going to play, um, move right. His first
Yeah.
season there with
Hmm.
Juventus was really well, but since then he's definitely dipped. So again, this he might be someone that excels like in a mid-table La Liga team or in Germany, back to Germany. So we'll see what happens with him. But as of right now, July 26th, no one has made a bid for him. No one has approached Juventus for him because Juventus has come out and said that he's not for sale. He's going to be in the plans. So right now, currently, still a Juventus player. Uh, One player that's kind of more or less, in a gray area is Balogun. Flo, will he stay at Arsenal? We don't know. He was left on the bench as Arsenal lost 2-0 to Man United a couple days ago in the summer preseason game. And his biggest obstacle for game time there at Arsenal is going to be Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, is he going to be able to overcome Gabriel Jesus
It's a tough
and
one.
become the number one spot? Yeah, it's a tough one,
Yeah.
but I I just don't see a lot of people going for him in terms of purchasing him just because of the price tag that Arsenal want for him. I think they want £50 million for him, which is an insane amount of money for somebody
Hmm.
that he did have a good season last year in the French league, but he hasn't proven himself in the EPL. I'd like to see him stay at Arsenal. Maybe be he's still young. Maybe be that backup to Gabriel Jesus. Play FA Cup games, play Champions League games, and Premier League games when you can. But at the same time, I obviously don't want him to not play. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Um, why don't you fill us in on Yunusmusah?
So Yunus Musah, I think we touched a little bit on him when we did the Il Capitano episode a couple days ago, and it looks like pretty much the move from Valencia to AC Milan. It's pretty much settled. It looks like AC Milan has agreed on personal terms with the player. They just have, I guess, to finalize some of the, price or ticket items with Valencia as far as how much money they're going to be paying. I think it's a reasonable move for him. Even though he saw some consistent play time at Valencia at this on the second half of the season, I think his time got reduced significantly. So if he's going to go somewhere where he's going to be able to either retain the amount of game time that he had at the beginning of last season, or at least consistently play throughout every single week, that will be great for him. It's also nice that, well, I guess he helps that AC Milan is owned by Americans, so it helps Americans to have a spot in the Serie A and a strong team. So it also makes them. I guess, more susceptible to purchase American players. Uh, so he'll have some decent competition at AC Milan, and I think it will be beneficial for him in terms of development to become even a more complete midfielder. Or I guess does he play like a number 5 or like a number 8? I guess he can play both.
Yeah, he can
Yeah,
play both, but I think he plays more for like a number 6 and 8. Yeah, depending on the formation that Valencia plays.
I gotcha. Yeah,
So
so
I think
it's a good
he'd
move.
slot in. Yeah, he'd slot in there maybe alongside Ruben
Mhm.
Loftus Cheek in the center,
Yeah,
and having Pulisic there at AC Milan helps, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's somebody that he knows. Yeah, it's a good move if that materializes, but we'll be watching that closely to
definitely.
see if Valencia and AC Milan can come to terms. The last big name here that's kind of a question mark. Question mark slash not question mark because Dortmund have come out and said they have no intention to sell. Obviously, we're talking about Gio Reyna. He's Dortmund is viewing him as an important piece moving forward next season. Don't want to sell him. Hopefully, he stays injury free because when he stays injury free, we know
Yeah.
that he plays for Dortmund and he scores and he participates and is vital. We were kind of wondering if he was going to move in search of play time, but apparently, they want to keep him. So good for him if he's able to stay injury free. But we've seen that he's kind of made of glass. so, oh, come on, Gio Reyna, drink your milk, man. Um,
For real.
so that's kind of where we're at currently for the big names in USMNT. Well, why don't you start us off with El Tri, man? What are some of the
Dude,
transfers that we've seen?
I don't even want to, dude. I mean, once you compare, the potential moves from El Tri or the ones that have materialized between El Tri and USMNT, this is just, I feel embarrassed, dude. I ain't gonna lie about it.
You probably should
But
have
all right,
started
let's
with
go.
El
Let's
Tri.
yeah. Um, I guess let's go ahead and get started. There's only one confirmed transfer, which is RJ9, Raul Jimenez, going from Wolverhampton to Fulham. Yeah, big move. I think I don't think anyone was expecting this move whatsoever. At least I wasn't expecting a move in Premier League. A lot of us, including myself, are essentially saying that he's pretty much done with his career. He passed the medical tests without any specific problem, so he's still fit to perform at least at the Premier League level. It was a £5 million transfer, so I mean, kind of low ball money. On the transfer, but man, he stays at EPL. Fulham seems to be a good team for him to regain his confidence and pick up the speed, pick up the pace. If he's able to go back to the early days where he joined the Wolves, it will be amazing. It will be great news for El Tri. But this is a surprise. I mean, no one was asking for this. I don't think anyone expected it. So let's just take it and run, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Raul Jimenez is someone that, before that whole injury happened with David Luiz, he was playing amazing, right?
Hmm.
He had, I think overall he ended it in like Premier League official games. He had like 97 appearances, 27 goals with Wolves. But most of those goals, I would say like 22, I believe, came before the injury or something like that.
Yeah.
So he had a substantial drop after the injury. We know what he's
Hmm.
capable of. I think Fulham is a great team to join. He'll be replacing Mitrovic there, who's leaving to Saudi Arabia. So he'll be either leading line or be, getting a lot of play time with Fulham as a the
Hmm.
backup striker. It'd be nice to see him recover, man, and get back to his Wolves days for sure. For El Tri and
Yeah.
just for him, he's a great guy, and it'll like Fulham's an awesome team, and it's a step up
Yeah.
from Wolves, I say. So like you said, we were all expecting him coming to ligamx or
Or
MLS.
MLS. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, man, he's staying out there. So good for RJ9. We'll be watching the Premier League and seeing how he performs for Fulham throughout the season. What can you tell us about Cesar Montes?
Cesar Montes. All right. So as we all know, Cesar Montes' team Español got relegated last season. There's still a lot of rumors going around him. It looks like Español would like to retain him, but there aren't. Or I guess they're also open to let him go if the price. I guess if they match the price. But they're leaning towards more of a let's push for a release clause activation or something close to the release clause. There's a lot of rumors surrounding him. There's people saying that he has been scouted by Nottingham Forest. Also, that Mallorca, whose coach is Javier Aguirre, has asked for him and his services, but Mallorca is looking more for a loan rather than a full purchase. So I think Espanyol is like either it's like a full purchase or else. I mean, we don't really they don't really want to loan him out. Uh, and there's also like a lot of rumors going around saying that he might come back to America, to Liga MX. So I hope that he stays in Europe. I really hope that he stays, even if he stays at Espanyol on La Liga B, or whatever the name of that second division is. Uh, but I think he will be better off playing at the second division on La Liga than coming back to MLS or to Liga MX, just because of the challenge that it will represent for him as a player to go from to win promotion in La Liga. If he goes to Nottingham Forest, I think it will be also a decent move. I think he is capable of being a good performing player on EPL, and it will be nice to see another Mexican at EPL. Um, and if he moves to Mallorca, it's also I think a reasonable move for him. So A lot of rumors, no rumors, nothing concrete on this guy. I, I cannot tell you exactly if there's an anticipated move. I think it's a 50-50 situation where Espanyol might be still open for inquiries, but they're not necessarily on a pinch to sell him in any way. So we shall see. I mean, he still has a month to go, month and change to go. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd rather see him play in La Liga B and then coming back. So after just one season in Europe, um, he was one of Espanyol's bright spots, I'd say, from last season.
Yeah,
Obviously, there was few
definitely.
bright spots if you get relegated, but he was definitely not the cause for the relegation.
Yeah, he fit in right away.
Um,
So that's
yeah,
good
he
news. Uh
he
huh.
definitely. I think La Liga suits him really well. Um,
Hmm.
Luischavez, man, we've all heard allegedly he paid his release clause. One of something you don't see too often, right? Somebody trying to push out of their team, like so we see that
Yeah.
intent to move to Europe. Pachuca was not going to sell him to Dynamo Moscow like directly, just because of the whole thing with the Russia Ukraine. They don't want to deal with Russian clubs at this time. Dynamo Moscow is the one that has shown the highest interest. That
Hmm.
ultimately led Luis Chavez to paying his release clause so he can deal with Dynamo without having Pachuca there as a middleman,
Yeah.
stifling his move. Um,
Hmm.
this is kind of, I don't know about you, but I've kind of noticed that it's kind of calmed down here the last week. Nothing has
Yeah.
really materialized, kind of settled down. Um,
Hmm.
what have you heard anything else from this? I mean, is he? There's also that
So
rumor that he's going to Monterrey.
I mean, right now, like nothing is set in stone, right? There's a lot of reports going out that like let's be clear, like he doesn't have that kind of money to pay his release clause, right? He has a sponsor behind him that loaning the money to pay for his release clause so he can make the move because making I guess dealing with Russian clubs right now, it's a pain in the butt because of how you move money, right? It like pretty much all of the Russian banks are banned from the international wire transfer system. So if you want to make deals with them, you have to send them to a country that they have links with, and that country has access to the international wire transfer fund or whatever the name of that thing is. So it's essentially like Dynamo Moscow had to send the money to Venezuela, and then Venezuela can send it to Mexico. So it was just a bombo jumbo. So Pachuca didn't want to mess with that. Even though there's a lot of reports going out saying that he paid his release clause, ligamx hasn't received the notice or registered that he's a free agent with ligamx. FIFA doesn't have a report saying that he's a free agent and open to negotiate with whoever he wants. There's a lot of people, well, a lot of pundits going around saying that he has started to realize that a move to Russia might not be the best decision for him, not only, I guess, sporting wise, but the difficulty of having access to his money will be one of those big detrimental or one of the big reasons why he might not join Dinamo Moscow. There's also whilst we all know Monterrey is very keen on hiring him or bringing him as a reinforcement for the club. They have offered somewhere around $15 million for luischavez, which it's an outrageous amount of money for a 27-year-old player, Mexican player nonetheless. So we shall see, man. I mean, I think if he really wants to go to Europe, and if he's able to find some a sponsor that is willing to pay for his release clause and allow him to negotiate with other teams that are Dynamo Moscow. There was some rumors about Feyenoord wanting him, PSV wanting him. So more power to him if he still if he is really adamant on pursuing that dream. But as of right now, nothing is set in stone. He's even registered for Pachuca to play Leagues Cup. So we'll
What a
see.
mess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big mess.
yeah.
Whew.
Someone who's also kind of in been quiet rumors. Gerardo Arteaga, who is the
Hmm.
Genk in the Belgian Pro League player. There's been some steam here and there that Lazio has acquired about his price tag, but nothing really has. They've kind of made contact with his rep, but nothing major.
No.
So this is if he joins Lazio, that'd be a fantastic move for him. We've seen him
Hmm.
play already in Genk. He's done well. He's just locked in starter there. So he has European experience. So that's just the next move up, right? So that's one we'll be watching, see if anything develops there. Serie A could be a great destination for him.
Yeah.
Um, what can you tell us about Santi? I know we kind of
Santi
mentioned him
Jimenez,
when
man.
we talked about
Yeah.
Ricardo Pepe.
Well, Santi Jimenez, a lot of rumors and news and things surrounding him before the Gold Cup and after the Gold Cup, right? There's a lot. There was a big one saying that he was going to join Tottenham Hotspur, especially if they release Harry Kane. Um, but I think he realized that going to the Hotspurs wasn't, a good decision in any way, right? Because it's Hotspurs. Like, well, what would you like to join Hotspurs to begin with? But it looks like Denis Tecloese, who's the sporting director of Feyenoord, came out and said that he's staying put, which I think is a great decision for him. I think that he was, if we were to move to a different team, even a more competitive league, I think it would have been a little too soon, especially that he had only played for 6 months at Feyenoord. I think he still needed one more year to settle himself as a great prospect for bigger leagues, bigger teams. I would only agree if he's going to a middle of the table kind of team in Spain or Serie A, or maybe like one of the 13, 14 spots in Premier League. Even if it's one of the teams that it's on relegation zone, it will be nice for him.
Mhm.
But staying at Eredivisie will help him hone in those attacking skills, those finishing touches, and become a more prolific striker. Which essentially that's what he's aiming for. So he's still young, 22 years old. Another year at Eredivisie is not going to hurt him in any way. So I think this makes sense. I think it's a great decision from him and his camp.
Yeah, he'll be playing Champions League football, and we know that Eredivisie is a playground for strikers. Strikers
Hmm.
succeed very well there. So, yeah, definitely. Hopefully, he stays put at least for another year to hone his skills. One guy that I did not think we'd be talking about here at all.
I know.
That somebody that's not even with El Tri anymore. I mean, he doesn't get called up really at all anymore. The ex Inter Miami forward Rodolfo Pizarro, someone that finally got his dream move to Europe, and he's moving to
Uh-huh.
Greece, AEK Athens. I guess they just had to clear him out to sign Messi, Jordi Alba, Busquets, and all those guys. He was one of
Hmm.
the sacrifices. But how did he move there? I mean, you know more than I do. What was the whole situation? He
I
knew
mean,
some people, or what was?
so I think he's a great example of sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. The EAK Athens coach is El Pelado Almeida, who coached him during his time at Chivas. So El Pelado Almeida really knows. Well, he really knows. I guess Rodolfo Pizarro's style of play. And I think, like, I don't think there's a coincidence he's joining AEK Athens. Uh, El Pelado Almeida must have a moche around around this decision, but that's the whole reason why he's joining that team. I don't think it's because of based on merits. I don't think it's because he was an outstanding player for Inter de Miami. Actually, he was really bad with Inter de Miami. Only one goal, and I don't know how many years, or how many games, but yeah, this is the whole reason why he is joining this Greek team is because of Pelado Almeida. Um, Pelado Almeida likes Mexican players for some reason, and I guess good for him. He's 29 years old, and he's finally making a move to Europe. I know that the Greek league is perhaps at the level of MLS or ligamx, but I just like the fact that he's going to a different league, different scenario, different environment, different refereeing styles, different pressure for the fans. So I guess good luck to him, and if he's able to perform, we might see him again with El Tri.
Wow, those are words I never thought I'd hear again.
Yeah,
Um, Wrapping this up with the last two men, real quick. Charlie Rodriguez, the Cruz Azul player. Apparently, Fiorentina y Serie A has asked, for his price tag. I know you and I kind of don't think this will happen. He's probably going to
no,
be staying with Liga MX.
yeah,
It hasn't been anything concrete. We'd like to see him go. He's 26 years old now, so
hmm
if he's in the hop, unless he's going to do a Rodolfo Pizarro and go when he's 30. Now is the time, but yeah, it
for
hasn't
real.
been anything concrete. And Irving El Chukylozano, he's been kind of told from Napoli that his services will not be needed for the next year,
Hmm.
unfortunately. There are links moving him to Premier League, but you know he's been offered plenty of money from LAFC and MLS and even Saudi Pro League rumors. So Premier League might not be able to compete for his services if it comes down to money, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. I mean that the biggest link, I guess the biggest rumor linked to him is going to LAFC. There's a lot of people talking about it, even LAFC players. Uh, I'm gonna say excusing him if he decides to join an MLS side. Uh, I think he even if he goes to Turkey, man, he needs to stay in Europe. That would be my choice. But again, I wouldn't blame him if he goes to MLS for a beaucoup dinero.
for the bag. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he at least needs to stay in Europe, ideally till the World Cup, right? Then he could go chase the
Hmm.
bag. But
Yeah.
he sometimes he might be offered something that he can't reject. Um, well, let's hope when we do the closeout summer transfer window second part that we have more news on Mexican players. Right
Yeah.
now, like we said, the only real concrete thing that's happened is Raul Jimenez moving to Fulham, which is a fantastic move. But Adrian, man, as we wrap this up, dude, where can our listeners find us?
Dude, they can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, be sure to let us know in the comments which of these moves for L3 or for the USMNT are you most excited about? Who that's currently in limbo or wanting to move? Do you want to make a transfer, and where would you like to see them go? Definitely still a month and probably a little less than a month and a couple of weeks to go for the transfer window to close here, so we might still see a lot of developments. But definitely we'd like to hear from you guys what you guys think of that. Adrian, man, another good episode with you, brother. Let's enjoy some Leagues Cup here. Tigres makes their debut. So I'll see you in the next one, man.
Take it easy. Bye.
See you, bro.